I don't know. Thank you. I don't know how many of y'all know me, but if you listen to any of my programs, or if you've ever seen me perform or speak, I always start with what's happening, blues people. Do y'all know who blues people are? Who's us?
Everybody.
Not necessarily. Blues music people is everybody, right? Blues music people is everybody. Blues people are Southern black folk and their descendants. Blues music people is everyone. You understand the difference there? Mm-hmm. So what we're gonna do before we get into it, by the way, my name is Lamont Jack Pearley of Jack Dappa Blues, that's what they call me. If you give me a check, make sure it's Lamont Pearley and spell my name right. You understand?
With the L-E-Y.
Right. There's some papers coming around. There's two sets of papers. One is a little fill-in thing, and the other one is a little worksheet so you can follow along. Before I get into speaking with the legendary elder, I would like to give you all some context. So what we're trying to do is see if we can get my images up, and if we can't, I can still tell you all what it is that I need to tell you, or that I feel that you all need to know, okay? So this particular presentation, which is what I think is more significant than a presentation, I think is dialogue, right? It's part of a program that I created called Blues Narrative, Blues Ecology, and it's called Blues Music is Black History. Because we're not just talking about a chord progression. We're not just talking about 1-4-5 or different things like this, which the actual sound is extremely important when we get to the root of it. But before we can get to that, we have to understand a couple of things. One, where we are and why this is significant, this place, and places like this is significant to the music, right? So, I guess my first question to everyone, and please don't yell out all at one time, especially if you don't know the answer. Why is plantations important to blues people, blues culture, and blues music? Not all at once.
The way of life.
Way of life?
The way of life.
Okay, we started. Because to me, human condition equates to blues. So yes, it is the way of life. Let's get a little bit more specific though. What else?
The call and response people would sing while working.
The last part of that, sing to working. So when we get to the expression part, we'll talk about the call and response. We'll ask you some great questions about that. But the work, right? Yeah. Because of the labor, this labor-intensive landscape, that's what blues ecology is. It is the landscape and the soundscape that's the memory of blues people in these particular spaces. So now, with that being said, this very extremely extensive labor space that initially started where you have poor agricultural blacks and poor agricultural whites, which is small farms, and then you had what's called a plantation complex, and then they had to disrupt the mom and pop stores. Does this story sound familiar to you all? Have you heard this before?
Yeah.
What ultimately and unfortunately happens during this plantation complex is one group gets disenfranchised and one group is offered benefits to assist the complex and the structure to disenfranchise this group of people. and the blues comes from there. Now there's two blues. Who knows the two blues? Is this a blues place? Do you know?
Blues people is one group. The white people is another group.
That is true.
That's true.
That is very true. But the two blues music, what are the two blues music?
Country blues and city blues.
Okay, now we're talking. Delta blues and New Orleans blues. New Orleans blues is urban blues. Delta blues is country blues. And this is very important when you think of the workforce and the labor and how that has to do with this space and why it's important to the music and the people. Now, in Storyville, if you ask Brother Chris Thomas King, that's where the blues starts, in New Orleans. That's the burlesque. That's the young folk and parents, don't get upset with me. Oh, okay, I got a better way of saying it, so I won't be surprised. That's the homes of the ladies of the night. And that's where what you get classic blues comes from. The Bessie Smiths, the Ma Rainey's, they didn't start there, but that style of blues comes from there. But if you listen and ask Big Bill Brunsey, he'll explain to you why the blues here, which started out as reels, is different from there. Cotton and sugarcane are two different products in two different spaces. One of the things I wanted to show you, if you ask Terry Harmonica Bean, he'll tell you that the Delta blues that y'all think come from here really come from the hill country. And that's why Howlin' Wolf was mad at Muddy Waters, but we'll talk about that another time. Okay? So when we come here to celebrate blues music, learn blues music, you have to celebrate, learn, and understand blues people. Because if it wasn't for the experience here, the memory that these musics and these sounds evoke, none of us would be here. And now I need to ask this legendary gentleman who won and finally was inducted into the Blues Hall of Fame. That should have happened a long time ago. I don't think he needs introductions, does he?
No.
Okay, thank you. But my first question to you, we want to get back to context because again, we are here to understand why are we on a plantation playing blues, right? Because this is a question that needs to be dealt with and reconciled because it's trauma behind it. First, to you, sir. The early days of the blues, as you remember, could you go tell us how far you can go back?
Well, for as my playing of the blues, I've been playing blues now for 65 years. My hometown is right down the road a piece in Haytime, Missouri. And I kind of moved to the north when I was around 16 years old. But the story, what really got me here, when I was a young man, I wanted Daddy used to say, be somebody. And when you're on the plantation, you're sharecropping, especially kids, you had to go to the cotton fields when you should be in school. That's the reason I don't have the highest of education, but I'm still very blessed that I'm a poor man's living a rich man's life. You know, I've been around the world, and I came from a little place called Haytime, Missouri, and it can be done. So the reason I got into this, when I moved to Chicago, I lived in a little place on Lake Street in Oakley Boulevard where I first heard Howlin' Wolf and Muddy Waters play. By me not having never had a suit of clothes in my life. And I know that's something I wanted to do. And being a kid when I was in the South, I always wanted to be somebody. Dad used to always tell us, son, you got to do something, possibly treat people the way you want to be treated and be somebody. You know, and the only way I saw that I could get out of here and kind of be remembered was the blues. And so when I heard those guys play, I said, maybe if I work hard enough, I get to know someone. And I ain't never felt that I just came here, lived and died. You know, I want to leave somebody to remember me by. And so I work hard at it. God bless me, and I'm here today. And from the cotton fields to around the world and in the heart of land. So don't you think I'm blessed?
Before we just speak about music, to give, because what you all are getting is a first-person experience of the blues, right? What was it like on a plantation? What was it like picking cotton prior to even, you know, playing any music? Just the work day.
Oh, it could be. It was tough, but all in all, my life right now, I wouldn't trade it for nothing because I've been through it, I feel it, and I appreciate life. But when I was down here, it was tough. I never dreamed that I would leave the country. I never saw no floor in Pinetop, Missouri, you know, but I was just lucky enough to get out of it. And working from sun up to sundown, picking cotton, chopping cotton. When I should be in school, I was on the farm working, you know, so it was a tough life. But as I growed up where I feel now, I'm blessed, and I wouldn't take it for anything in the world because it's history. Make me feel good of what I accomplished. And so, excuse the expression, but it was hell when I was down. You know, I went through hell. That's right now the reason I won't stay in those little shacks back there, because that's where I came from, and I don't want to think going back when I was 7 and 8 years old, 9 years old. I don't think I could go in one of those. There was a place back there to survive, because I went in, I could still smell the smell when I was a kid. It just, maybe it's not there, but it's in my mind, you know, so I'm being blessed, and as I said, from the cotton fields to around the world, no place I ever been, and got friends all over the world, and that's a blessing as I said. And so, and I got a beautiful family. This is my blues family here, and we love one another. I have winter festivals, and it be pouring down rain, but I have a blues festival. People stayed there soaking wet, stayed with us. So I wouldn't take this life for nothing in the world. And I'm teaching, telling the children, right now, this is a beautiful life, but it can be a lonely life. You know, I have played around the world, and 10,000 people at night. You go on home by yourself, that can be lonely, but you have to learn how to deal with that. Find a crutch beside drinking alcohol, you know, find something to do, walk around. That's what I'm teaching the kids every day. Don't get hung up because you have your road managers out there. They got families. When they're on your off day, they want to be with their families. And you're in the hotel by yourself, and lots of the older guys like me back in the day, with nothing to do, you're on the road, can't speak English, all you wanted was a fifth of whiskey in the hotel and drink. And so you got to find something to do besides that. My escaping were walking, looking at people, listening to the language, and taking pictures. So that's what I'm teaching the kids of the day now, because this is a beautiful life, but it can be a fast life. Try to keep your head straight. See, I'm 94 years old and I still working. God bless me. I'm doing things that the younger people cannot do, you know. Having fun and dancing on the bandstand at 94, so that would be really bad.
Look, you said a couple of things that evoked memories of interviews I had with two particular people. Lil Joe Ayers and Terry Harmonica Bean again. And there's a couple other people I will quote. Lil Joe Ayers said that, you know, and Vince Vonnegut also said it, working on a power mule and just engaging in physical labor to Lil Joe Ayers said he felt like John Henry. You know, the hard work made him feel strong. Terry Harmonica Bean said, the soil in Mississippi is cursed and poisoned because of all the bloodshed. So now with those two, and first let me just give you guys a little background. So my mother's parents is from Gloucester, Mississippi. The entire McNeil and her family is from Gloucester, Mississippi. And the Pearleys and the Smiths is from Louisiana, Belrose and Gonzales. My mother was born in Chicago and my pops was born in New Orleans. Both sides of my family were separated by a river that separates the Amorite and Louisiana. So I give you this piece of information so you understand why I am credible to have this conversation. Because I'm a blues person. And you check out Jack Dappa Blues Preservation Foundation, where we document, we create repositories and archives of stories of legends as such and other blues people's stories, right? So now back to Joe Ayers and Terry Harmonica Bean. The idea of hard work and labor, which you said that you engaged in, and then the soil, which was drenched with black folk blood. How much of that, I want to say, inspired or was part of the blues expression as a performance?
Well, that's kind of a hard question, but
I'm sorry.
You come with that again. Now tell me now what
The hard work of your era, right? The physical labor. How much of that helped your creating the blues when you were playing it, and how
it went along with that. I said first, when you come out of that, you don't want to be like your dad or your parents. You know, you want to move a step further. So that's what pushes me. You know, that's what pushes. You don't want to be the same as your father went through. So my father just about came out. Well, my granddad came out of slavery, you know, and so I was just, when I was a kid, I was just on the tip end of slavery, you know, coming out of it and what this is about. So I remember the time this place here bring memories too, that little place upstairs, they used to call it the crow's nest, you know, so with the plantation here, they set up in the, with the spyglass and see who's not. If anybody stand up and quit picking cotton or stop the horses or hit the mule, you come down there and get hit, you know. So that's where I came. I remember those days, you know. And I remember we didn't have money. This we had money from the plantation here. So they give us the money, and we would had to come back here and spend it. And we all had their money. So I remember those days. I said I'd come off the tail then. That's really one reason I wanted to do better, because I saw what my parents went through, and so I worked hard and found my way out. And on this way, I know I would never be a lawyer, school teacher, so the easy thing, I couldn't read music, I couldn't do any of that. So my way out was the music. Other than that, I wouldn't have been nothing, because that's the only thing I could do. So we came through all of that picking cotton from our sun up to sundown. And another thing that to the story, another story, a lot of people say when I play, you must be a womanizer, because a lot of my entertainment go between ladies, but I think about what ladies went through back in the day, and I really appreciate it. When we have a baby, or your wife have a baby, we the one grab the cigar and go out, and that's it. But back in the day, when Mama had a baby, she stayed at home a week, 2 weeks, and she'd be back out pulling the crack sack, and I always thought about that. And women is really something special to me, not because I'm trying to flirt or anything like that, but I just think a woman is behind the life of a man. Look what she go through. She go through 9 months carrying a baby. And what we do, we grab a cigar, go out, and she pop around talking about my baby. She be at home nursing the baby, changing diapers. So that's, fellas, no offense, but that's the reason a lot of my songs I sang to ladies, because I really appreciate what for Mama, I wouldn't be here.
That's right.
Speaking of women in those days, were they allowed to take time off, or did they have to return back?
The only time back in those days, women had time, like when we were picking cotton, she got 30 minutes off, or maybe from the cotton to go and fix the dinner. Other than that, she had to go to the field. Back in when the baby was a year old, she put the baby on the cotton sack, be dragging the baby on the cotton sack and try to pick cotton. So women had a hard time back in those days, It was just tough, because I saw a lot of moms. My mama passed when I was 3 years old. I still don't remember mom, but I saw so many moms what they went through out there, having a baby, then coming back to the field, getting up early in the morning, fixing dinner, and fixing, then had to go and pick cotton and chop cotton. So, ladies, I give it to you. You're really strong people. And wasn't for a lady, we wouldn't be here. So, thank you. So that's the reason I sang to you girls, because I appreciate you.
Yeah.
A crack sack?
A crack sack?
What is it called?
Cotton sack.
Cotton sack.
Cotton sack. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they would take a cotton sack Put the baby on it.
On the cotton sack and had to they put the baby on the cotton sack and had to drag it with the cotton in it, yeah.
And
And
so,
those roads there, how long they is now, they were the same way, and we had to go from end to end pulling a 10-foot crutch, 7-foot cotton sack, so women and all, so they went through it. I went through it, you know. When I should have been in school, I was chopping cotton and picking cotton.
I want to lighten it for 1 second and then get back to the hard truth, because unfortunately, the blues, a musician friend of mine said the blues is the butt-naked truth, right? So, unfortunately, that's what it is. Well, no, fortunately. But before we get back to the butt-naked truth, you had mentioned you didn't want to be like your parents and your grandparents, right? And I remember in the film Black Bottoms, that was kind of the plot of the movie. A younger generation wanting to do a different music than an older generation. And I'm a purist, I'm not gonna lie, but black music, blues evolves with each generation, right? Mm-hmm. Could you tell us what your grandparents listened to, what your parents listened to, and how what you listened to and played was different?
Well, music have no endings, you know. When I came up from the South, and I kind of came up on country and western, you know, because that's the only radio we had down. If you was lucky enough, you could get Memphis, and that was it. You heard a little blues from the South, but what I didn't really, the closer I got to blues when I was here was Louis Shirt, you know, when I was a kid. But we that's the only thing we could listen to back in those days. And the guys, they made up blues. You could hear them making up songs in the cotton fields. You know, this was all started for, not because the hard times, but they had to have some kind of rhythm to keep it going. And they would make up songs, different songs about, and the music we play is about life. You hear blues, you can hear lots of sad blues, and you can hear lots of blues about love stories, and so blues is life. When you hear, most of my song is about my life. You know, and so blues is life, and that's what, when we was down here, that's the only thing we had to go for ourselves, is flying behind the mule, trying to make up a song, singing about your life, about your condition, you know, so it's where it all started. And this street, I'm so happy to come back to it, living my life all over again, you know. And I look how far I came. That make me feel good. Now, if I was still in the same shape as I was when I left here, probably I wouldn't want to come back. But I look back here and look up here and say, damn, I came a long way, you know. So it's life. It's life, and I'm proud of it. And now the blues is a family. As I said, we all family here now, and it looks so good. This is a tough world, and we about love. You know, black, white, green, it is. Our family is about love. You know, it ain't no, ain't no prejudice here. We having fun. We just have fun together. Like the other month I was down here, my son is a politician, and he the one got the headaches. I'm the one having fun doing it.
Couple of things. This question is to the audience, and soon you all will have an opportunity to ask some questions. So when you think of the blues, just we're not talking sonically, but traditionally, besides call and response, where else did it come from? Do y'all know?
African heritage.
Who said that? Yes, that's part. Yes, African and indigenous to the Americas. Yes, but yes, but outside of that, okay. Well, I'll just tell you. There's something called reels. There's something called slave seculars. Do y'all know what slave seculars are? I know you know. Does anyone know what a slave secular is? Do you know? You know? Tell us.
From my understanding, a slave secular is the music, because a lot of enslaved people would sing a lot of religious songs when they were out in the field. So my understanding is that the slave seculars was the secular music that the slaves were singing. That's what my understanding.
Yes, right. So what the slave secular was ultimately, and it's by Leroy Jones says it's the predecessor of the blues. When missionaries came to try to indoctrinate slaves who were not going for it, they kind of made parodies out of these spirituals. So they would take something like, if you guys are familiar with the Fisk Jubilee Singers, they would take songs like that, but speak more to worldly issues, right? Then you have someone like, who's familiar with W.E.B. Du Bois? Sorrow songs, right? Which is a song of black folk. All of these songs, am I forgetting anything? The sorrow songs, there's songsters, which were, Mance Lipscomb used to play these songs, and these songs were like 45 minutes long with no real necessary lyrics or musical changes. All of these, and then the pastor, hoot and holler in churches. Is anyone familiar with this?
Yeah.
Yes? You know, does anyone want to go on a limb and give us an example of a hoot and holler pastor? No? Well, I mean, it's kind of, the irony. My man, he just gave you a blues stanza right there. All these, and you know where that culminated to? All that we just talked about, believe it or not, culminated to DMX, right? And so many rappers that you hear, it's a thread. Speaking of threads, let me ask you, were there any moments that you were taking church songs or music and playing it in the jukes?
Yeah, church songs I took, and I've got right on my CD now, church song, but I changed it around. I changed it around. Let me see what You Gotta Move. That's the old gospel tune. When the spirit hits you, you gotta move. So I just changed it around. When the blues hit you, you gotta move. When the blues hit you, you gotta move. You may be rich, you may be poor, you may be fast, and you may be slow. Mm-hmm. But when the blues hit you, you gotta move. Same thing in the church song. When the spirit hits you, you gotta move. So it's the same thing. So.
I'm asking you, wait, let's ask the audience first, then I'm gonna ask you. Do y'all think blues is sacred?
Yes.
Yeah. You said yes, quick. Tell us why.
Because it's part of who those people were. And that was their life. And they had to use it in order to keep their spirits up, keep moving forward. Move. They got to keep moving. And so if they didn't have something, a rhythm or something to go by, then they wouldn't be moving. They'd be going backwards. And I just feel that it's part of their spirit. And that's what it is, part of their spirit.
I'm going to come to you next. I have to ask this question. And the reason why I have to ask this, wait, I'm not going to set it up. I may tell you after. You said there in the past tense, which is very, and I love it because I believe you're making a distinction that real blues is a certain era in time. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, and it's passed down, generation from generation. Regardless of whether they make up a new song or not, it's steeped in their beings, in their history, in our history.
No, I love it. I love it.
I would just say it's the same thing she says. Blues preserve the culture. And the music, just like you said in these 4 topics here, field holler, spiritual, secular, ecology. When I first got into blues, I was a kid in Houston, Texas. And I heard it on the radio. And my dad listened to country music, and I never got to hear anything like that. And when I heard it, the first time I heard it, it grabbed me around the neck. And it changed me. And I immediately was taken in by it. Very soon after that, I started playing drums, playing music. And I didn't really realize how deep all of it was right at first. To me, it was just music that I heard on the radio. It got me really excited. I was passionate about it at a very early age. And as I grew into it, I started working with real blues artists and got to learn more and more and more about it and travel the world and do it. Everything that you're talking about is perfectly the way it saves the culture so we can pass it on. Like when we were having these classes here, every once in a while I try to impart a little bit of that with what I know, about it. And I'm not trying to be a historian or anything, and try to tell people it came from this, and some of these things came from certain tribes, that we know in certain parts of Africa, certain types of music. This is holding up all of that tradition of all those people that brought that over here constantly. The first time I heard field holler, I was against the wall.
I was blown away.
Blown against the wall. I bought a field holler album back vinyl very young, before anybody else that I knew did, and I would listen to field holler, and everybody going, "What are you listening to?" Check it out. And like you just said, Mance Lipscomb and all of those people, I grew up in the same area as Mance Lipscomb, and I used to see him play in small places.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, and he was just storytelling like a fool, like not a fool, bad fool, but he was persistent about it. And I've been blessed to be very close working with Todd McCall for 30-something years. And Todd was a true griot. He does, it's deeper than you can imagine. And it goes back, telling more than I can possibly say. It's like a book over and over and over and over.
Yeah, he did a whole pivoted in an entire reggae album. He's masterful, and all of that is the blues, right?
All of it. All of it comes from the same basic source of that culture of those people. And that's what we have to remember when we're listening to that. We take it for granted. And I'm not pointing myself out here, but I think I've become a lot more empathetic to it, as the years go by, learning more and more about it. It affects me more now than it did, Than when I first heard it when I was a kid. I heard Bobby Bland Turn On Your Love Light, things like that, and all I wanted to do was stand up and take my shirt off. Yeah. But anyhow, that's my interpretation. It's very similar to hers.
I dig it. Thank you. Come, let's give it a round of applause.
All that come out of church. All that come out of church. So that's what we do. Music have no endings, as old as I am now, I'm still learning. I think about 2 years ago, I learned a lot of things here. You guys are I'm supposed to be teaching you, but sometimes I'm learning things what you doing, you know. So that's what's so beautiful about what are we doing. You know, it's no ending to it, and you can always learn. It's not you get where I learn all I can. It's that's really so beautiful, and I just appreciate all the guys, the young musicians that's coming out of here. And I want to thank all the young musicians that made it out of here too, because I think the Kingfish, Little Harold, they made it. They come right from here. But it's like I was talking, the Kingfish is about the second highest guy on the lottery now in the blues, making the money. Yeah. But yet still he haven't forgot where he came from. He want to hang out with me, and he come back down here and play for the children. Well, the young guys, I'm not going to call you children, but he come back, and you got to feel grateful because you look at him and Kingfish did, I can do it. That's the way you got to feel, and so, and he's trying to pull you guys right along with him. So I really thank him for that. Little Harold, he doing the same thing. He moving up the ladder, but he's still thinking about the kids here.
Enough to sing Little Realm, right? He knows the history though. He doesn't just give you the music. He'll give you a history lesson about each artist and where they come from. And which leads to my next question. And before I ask our legend that's here, because we see, I have to say it, you know, some of us lost a dear friend. 77, 78, had hip surgery, but prop her little self onto a chair and just get to plucking, you know. So when we as a Pearley family have an opportunity to speak to an elder, this is like very, very serious for us, because, you know, it's fresh in my mind. The first thing I got when I woke up, I found out that, should I say her name? Yes. Our friend Selby Minner has transcended, not in great circumstances. Yeah. So we, you know, love one another. Amen. First and foremost. And we're gonna honor her. And I can't tell you if she drank. I know what she did, but I'm not gonna do that today because my kids are with us. But I will have a drink for her. I wanna ask y'all, I have about 4 or 5 answers, not from me, from people of this region that answered this question without me asking them. We were talking about something else. But I want to ask you all this first before I read off these answers. And then we'll get ready to open the floor up so y'all can ask some questions. Because I don't like talking at people, I like having conversations. Why is this important? Why do y'all need to care about what we're talking about? Why can't you just play blues? Mm-hmm.
So if you don't know the history and where it comes from, like Willie Dixon said, the blues is the roots and the rest is the fruit. So you listen to everything else, but if you don't know where it comes from, you don't know where to go to.
There it is.
I just saw you, my little buddy. Thank you. Well, he done changed his name now, but thank you, 6-string Andrew, for coming back and helping the fellas along too. That's what I tell you about one of the musicians when they leave here. They never forget about Pinetop because they want Pinetop to smile down on them. So thank you to Andrew for coming back and helping the guys along, because if you made it, they can make it. And you tell them that too, okay?
So remember what you can, because if you're like me, you'll remember the very last thing, so I'm not going to ask you to do anything that I couldn't. But I'm going to read off a couple of excerpts from people I interviewed from this region, from the North Hill country and the Delta, from all the way down by the waters up towards Memphis. And whichever one resonates, hold on to it. And if you want to speak to it after I finish, please do. So I already told you what Terry Harmonica Bean said. The earth, the ground is poison. A lot of bloodshed, but if you leave it alone, the wild will take it back. He said his grandparents believed that this land remembers. Mississippi is more than soil. It's sacred, it's spiritual, and alive. Vincie Varnadu told me, and if y'all really into blues and you know about Parchment Farm, Parchment Prison is the plantation. Mississippi never stopped being Mississippi. Now that's Blues Ecology, just in case y'all didn't know. So he says the idea that the plantation complex evolved into the prison system. And then I added, even rap music is sometimes used to profit from pain. Chandra Williams, y'all know who that is? She does great work out here. She takes it as healing, memory, and loss. She shared that people profit from our trauma. That's blues people trauma. But she also found healing. I went camping, she says. No distractions, just birds and water. That was so powerful, a very powerful healing. Is Rondalyn a doctor? She's out at Ole Miss. She does a lot. She is a Mississippi historian. Rondalyn Pierce said, my mom hated cucumbers more than cotton. The goo would plaque her hands. Who knows Mary Hart Wright? I know you know. Who else knows Mary Hart Wright? Do you know who that is? Okay. I'm in a room full of people who are talking about they play and know the blues and you don't know who Mary Hart Wright is. That's Mississippi John Hurt's granddaughter who runs his land, whose cabin was burned down, right? These are the people that we have. If we are to do this, these are the people that we have to give voice to. She said, Greenwood is 75% black, 100% poor, but the city makes money off blues while black cemeteries are overgrown. Who's this? I just read him. The Hollowell family, who owns Foxfire Ranch in Holly Spring, Hill Country, said, we sold $400 of greens in a day, but lost land to speculators. We didn't know the system. The blues remembers these stories. Any Big Bill Brunsey fans?
Oh, yeah.
I heard on here quick, that's my guy too. He said, when he was talking about the difference between how blues moved from Mississippi and into Louisiana and into more urban spaces, he says, they don't want to think about the old way, slavery time. He said they don't want to remember the horse and buggy. And he has a song, Plow Hand Blues, which discusses field hand labor. Silver Shirley, y'all know Silver Shirley? And Jerisa McBride, who's a great vocalist. They said, we live and work on plantations, but we don't own anything. Does anyone know Timothy Davis? You must say yes? I know you do. He owns a barbecue spot in the Hill Country, and they have a great, yes. And you've been to the festival too, right?
No, I haven't, but I know what you're talking about now.
Yeah, they have a great festival on that land. He says, same land, new owners, same exploitation. Okay, so now with all of that being said, what do y'all think to that? What can we do to because the blues isn't just downtrodden, right? That's like a misnomer, right? So what can we do as a blues family, as a blues community, to adjust these narratives that are very real and still happening today? Y'all know cotton picking didn't stop until like 1974 out here, right? And about 2 weeks ago, you know, right?
Oh well, what can I say? What can I say? Well, you know, I'm gonna get this story on it, then I'm gonna leave it alone. We are, like I told you a few minutes ago, we're about love. I know when I first time I went to Russia, when I first went to Russia, I did an interview, and the first thing they wanted to know is get into politics. Mm-hmm. And what I tell all my young guys that I'm teaching me, we're about love. We're not about politics. If you want to talk music, we talk music. But for us, two things when I go on the road, I never talk about. That is politics, racial, and the United States. Those two things I don't talk about. If you want to talk about, as I said the other day, my son is in politics. He the one got the headaches. I'm not here to talk about politics. I'm here to talk about music and love. My job is loving people, not criticizing people, you know. So I'm not gonna get into that, so we're gonna leave that alone.
So there's no political blues songs? Political blues songs.
Of course, sir. Of course, sir.
The political blues songs?
Yes.
I asked because the elder said something that my wife and I have been talking about for some time. Thank you, good sir. When we were growing up, no one shared who they voted for, and a lot of these things that are, I guess, pop culture now. Even though from Bob Marley to even, I can't think of this guy's name, but he recorded in the 40s a whole bunch of black folk who have political blues. I can't think of his name, David, I can't think of his name. But there's songs that speak to it. James Brown, there's songs that speak to it. Little Richard spoke about race a lot publicly.
Mavis Staples.
So, music and spoken.
Nina Simone, J.B. Lenore.
Actually, let's say this. Nina Simone, because she made like one of the most in your face, and Sam Cooke. So,
Backlash Blues.
right. So now with that being said, and then your statement, because like I said, back in the day, nobody talked about this, like in conversation. It may come out in music, but it wouldn't be in a conversation like this. Now it's all over the place. Does that change what we express and communicate in music, in like young blues musicians that come here? Are they allowed to talk about this now because that's what today is? Decide. And everyone could answer this after the elder.
Well, yeah, we'll talk about it, but as I said, this world, I got a song, this world is in a tango, you know. I put it, I got it on a CD, but, you know, we living in a terrible situation. And our music when I come out to play, I don't want people to get in that groove, because they listen to that at home, they wake up with it, listen to it. When we come out here, the thing we want to do is have fun. We may not have but 3 or 4 hours of getting away from it. You know, so that's what our job is, to try to free people's mind, because I have did a lot of gigs and people say, oh, I came here with really down, but seeing that you having so much fun, I forgot my problem, what's going on now. So that's our job as musicians, to free people's mind, get the problems away, because you got 2 hours to have fun doing it. And that's the reason I say I try to stay away from politics, because politics is a downer. So we trying to get away from downers here now. You know, we look at one another and I don't like this person, I don't like it. We don't want that. We want you to come here. We are one, we're having fun together. And when we leave out, you leave out with a good mind. Tomorrow, then you think about something else. That's what we not try to keep people got a positive thinking. That's what music is, positive thinking. Though blues is have some downers, we had downers in our life. May have downers life now, but we got to think positive. And music puts you positive. You know, whether you having fun, you may be crying tomorrow about it, but these 2 hours you're gonna spend with us, it's about fun. That's the reason I say I try to stay away from the politics, though it's here. But what can we do about it? That's what we want to do, is get away for 2 hours, to get this out of my mind and have fun and worry about the situation tomorrow. That's the way I feel. I may be wrong, but that's the way I feel about music. That's my job is. If I get 3 people with a different attitude when they leave my gig, I done did my job, you know. But a person come in with a downer and gonna leave with a downer, I don't think I did my job. So I may be wrong, but that's the way I feel.
Well, of course, you next. You're not wrong. I actually set you up to prove a point. And because, well, one of the points is, there's this idea that blues is just downtrodden music and it's just about suffrage and it's never about everything else. And what I was grappling with, bringing the full circle back to labor-extensive locations like a plantation, if, based on what you described, a work week was, who would come to a place to listen to someone sing about someone leaving them? Wouldn't they come to dance?
Well, you wanna come here and feel better than you did when you come. That's the point. Other than that, you stay at home and suffer. You know, but this is the point, to get away, dance, have a drink, and have fun. And when you get back home, then you worry, because it's here. It's not gonna leave you. Our situation is not gonna leave it, but it can give you a little free time. And that's what musician job, that's our job. To get you in a better spirit. Not come in here and listen to downers all night. You've been listening to downers all the week. And so I think my job is to come here, though I may be smiling to keep from crying, but I'm gonna come with you with a smile. My job is to make you feel happy while you're here. And I think I did my job, you know. But you is right, it's here. There ain't nothing we can do about it. But our job, I'm talking about our job, is to make you feel better than you did when you come in.
Mm-hmm. That makes me think about sinners. Who saw Sinners?
Yeah.
You remember that scene when he was like, yo, that's not a full nickel. He's like, come on, man. Let them go in and have a good time. Go ahead.
Well, you pretty much covered everything I was gonna say, but, I was gonna say that one of the things that, like Bob was saying, when we get together to play, we release, and in our release up on the stage, and we're here to entertain, you know, that's to make people feel good, even when blues songs are about loss and love loss and whatnot, you know, obviously all the blues, topics and everything. But one thing that I get from when I see what I have seen in film and read in books about people on the plantation, from the field hollers and the songs and spirituals and the church and everything, is when you sing about it and talk about it, like in a field holler, they're releasing all of that from themselves by talking about it out loud, as opposed to holding it in. You know, when they all speak out and let it go, it leaves them, and they don't have to hold on to that anymore. And that's kind of the freedom that we get from playing music, you know, by letting it out. And just, you know, and like Bob said, you don't feel good, don't come around.
Don't be a vibe killer, is what he said. Any questions from the audience? Any other questions? Because we have participation. But what other questions, what other statements?
I just want to say is, I've been with the Pinetop Foundation since its inception. And the fact that when I describe what goes on here, you tell people it is hosted on a plantation. And that sets the table for their mind to go, this is a different experience. And when and that's why we call this the Pinetop Perkins Workshop Experience, because it's more than the music, although the music is just very visceral. It's been described better than I can ever give it through the past hour and 10 minutes. But the fact that it's here, the soil, the environment, the stories that come out, that you're immersed in is it's a change agent for everybody that comes down here. The music's special, the experiences on this stage are special, the Ground Zero experience is special, it's amazing. It's blues music that the power of it is just incredible. But the experience here, and the young people sharing that with their parents and sharing it with people like you that have this deep, rich history of it. The fact that Bob can't be here, but he's an ambassador. He's a living legend and a true treasure in this country. He imparts that because he, like many here, have had Pinetop alongside of them musically. And so I just wanted to say this is every year, this is our 16th year, it's very, very special, but we are so grateful that people like you are telling the story and that we're on a plantation and experiencing this on the very roots of the history of the Delta Blues. It's just amazing, so thank you all.
It took me back to some of the things that I was taught by my grandpa, that his job was to make us feel better. His job was mostly on a Saturday evening after working 6.5 days a week and go into an abandoned house on the corner of the plantation, right on the creek maybe, and that's where we came with the juke joint. That was the foundation or the starting of the juke joint by people like the elder that wanted to bring all those tensions and struggling thoughts that we had all week long, and we actually let it out. So with the elder, with the combination of the elder, the homebrew, and a place to gather, henceforth came the blues in the juke joint.
Yes, sir. Give it up. Let's go. And you know what else? I think it's funny because I experienced this in my lifetime, which I'm a couple of generations removed from what you explained, but I literally experienced evening of juking turning into a Sunday morning with grits and somebody standing up on a counter preaching, all in the same location.
Wow.
Right? We have to remember, being restricted births a lot of ingenuity. and this is what blues ecology is. This is what, well, at least my point, is why we have to understand the space, the landscape, and the soundscape. Because all these things are happening almost simultaneously in the same place. You just gave us the hoot and hollering pastor a couple of minutes ago. I'm anticipating one of y'all who's going to get up there and sing, do the same thing if you really think you can sing the blues, right? Because it's the same thing, right?
That's right. That's right.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
If I'm living as a natural man, my brain chemistry changes, and I could change it, as we said, with alcohol and other drugs, but like Tony, when I first heard it, it changed my brain chemistry. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about. And I had a very strong emotional reaction to the music, made by people I, at the time, knew nothing about. And the spirit of that, and when you said, is blues spiritual music? I live in the land of the red man. I live in Oklahoma, and their music is spiritual as well. I have trained my brain to feel happy and change my mood. For example, during COVID, blues was my medicine during COVID. And that was learned from the struggles of the people that created the music. And so the highest form of blues to me is when I feel an emotional change. If I can create a feeling in the listener that it changes their feelings. And we know the sad blues can do that, but as we stated, we want to use that very sparingly, a sad blues song. But about sexuality, about fun stuff. Back in the day in the Delta, people sang about animals all the time. You know, chickens and horses and mules and stuff. I guess we sing now about the internet, I don't know. We sing about our phones not working. But the point I wanted to make was that the emotional connection I felt from the first time I heard it. And I think that the highest expression of the art is when the listener is changed emotionally. And my favorite blues performers can do that to me. And sometimes it's akin to what some politicians and preachers have. Here's an example. Have you ever had a conversation with Bobby Rush? When you walk away from Bobby Rush, you feel like you're the most important person in the world. And I've had a couple conversations with B.B. King, felt the same way. When I talk with Bob Cortori, he uplifts me. Almost every time he uplifts me. And to have somebody with that gift, I listened to Johnny Bergen's workshop today, and it was unfolding, and he was talking about the technique and being proficient in the language. But I know his goal is to be so proficient that you can move people emotionally with your music. And really, my biggest barometer of that is that people get up and dance. If people are dancing, you know, I got over that night with the music. So, and then the last thing I want to say, at my age, I'm realizing everything changes, man. Everything changes. And when I close my eyes, I think, there weren't hundreds of people here. There were thousands of people here. And every place we walk, there was footsteps over that, not just one time, hundreds, maybe thousands of times. People with their stories. And so I'm going on and on, man.
Okay.
Thank you.
The elder mentioned it, you mentioned it, a few people mentioned it, I think you did too. One thing we cannot forget when it comes to blues and expression, I would say blues people, but I mean this crosses all tribal, cultural, racial, the art and the key of storytelling, right? Because that is really, besides the dynamics of the performance or the emotions, what the story is also what captivates people. For me, I mean, when I was a little guy, I wanted to play guitar because of Prince, but I didn't. I started my career as a rapper, and I heard Son House, and forgive my language, that's the all I should have. You know, because I identified in him everything from sonic to landscape to my granddaddy. Everything about my being was wrapped up in this guy, not to mention the fight between good and evil, right? What the blues really, well, I don't say really is, one of the things the blues is, and that's another thing I would like to say, and I want you to answer this one. Because as a purist, I usually say the blues is this, and the blues is that, but the blues could be many things. Could you talk to us about that? And please answer, what time do we have?
It's 20 after 5.
We have about 10 more minutes.
Answer that, please answer that, sir. What is the blues to you?
Well, the blues is all about the stories being told, and it's about love, you know. And a lot of people look at blues as a downer. Blues don't have to be a downer. You know, when we was on the farm, we had happy blues too. And we had shaking your thing and all that. We had all that. Then we had some blues that would tell sad stories. So, blues is a feeling. I tell everybody, blues is a feeling. It tells a story. It's a story about life. What we come through here from the plantation to the north is about the woman that just left you. It could be about that. It could also be by the woman you just found, you know. So we have happy blues, and when you hear blues, well, when I first went to listen to blues, oh man, you know how black people live, they think blues is a downer, you know, or you go, that's what I call it now, we got north side blues and we got south side blues. The black generation, they like happy blues. We like to dance, you know. And the only time I really played really blues what I like was when I came to the north side. But when I played the blues what I'm playing now, if I played on the south side, I wouldn't draw flies and go up north. You can get by with it. So as I said, blues is that's a better feeling. And our generation kind of get away from blues because it's not there. It's telling a story, and we came from this. And the average black person don't want to hear. You don't want to go back to that. So they want to hear something happy. I'm doing okay now. That's the reason when I first got in the music, I was playing blues, and I said, well, that's down there, opera talk, that's devil's music, that's Downer's music. So I wanted to go into jazz. That was sophisticated music, you know. If you played jazz, you was about something, you know, but my people wouldn't come and hear no blues. They wanted to hear jazz or funk, something that they could dance on. So it's just a story being told, different from generation, the music, but don't get hung up when you hear us playing, people mention blues, that it's a downer. Yeah. I don't want to hear no blues, you know. So we have good blues, we have sad blues, you know, so the same line of country western. It tells a story. Opera tells a story. Blues music is life. In any kind of music that you play, it's about life. Was it jazz? Was it opera? It's about the way of life. So that's all I got to say about it.
You said a lot. You said a lot. Just one. If you want to read about the blues people, you can purchase this. You can also go to the website. There's an African American folklorist. This is the child of Leroy Jones, John Wesley Work, and Lamont Denise. This is the Blues People story, $14.99. We have two boxes actually. You should also go to Jack Dappa Blues Radio.tv and the AfricanAmericanFolklorist.com and become members to get information like the printouts here, because what we do is we raise awareness, cultural awareness of blues people, Black American experience, as well as moments like this, right? And what we're talking about. Lastly, does anyone have a question or a statement for our elder?
I have a quick question, and it's for you as well. Can we continue our conversation in the next few days when we see you?
Sure. Sure, and if it's after 5 o'clock, you can buy me a beer and have I'm sorry.
I just had a statement that I really appreciate both of you guys coming here talking about the history, because I was thinking about how important that is. If someone were to say Andrew, can you do a topic on hour-long session on agricultural sciences, I'd be making up stuff for an hour. So in the same way, when we're up there giving a presentation by playing music, we should at least know what we're talking about.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I really want to say, coming from all the way from Scandinavia, Sweden, and hearing Bob's story and all of this really opened my eyes, and I am very, very thankful that I am here and for hearing this. Because in Scandinavia we have a different view of blues music, but if you really come here, you get that feeling, and it has touched me so much, and I want to really say thank you so much, because this is giving me a whole different perspective of it. So I really want to say thank you so much, Bob, and thank you everyone here also.
Good sir, do you want to add to the conversation?
We had a conversation the other night. I was talking about some of the opposing forces within the blues, and what I stated, and I think you were in agreement with that. I think you asked that if I would bring it up. And the thing is I said I kind of break it down in 4 ways. I have a nightclub called the Rhythm Room. I'm a musician who plays. I have a radio show. I present a historical thing in the blues, and I get to be here as an instructor this week. So I'm excited about all that. But I look at blues as a heritage, as a Black heritage. I think that as a heritage it comes from the Black experience that has happened. Nobody could ever take that away from the blues. If they took it away, it would not be the blues. But then I also look at blues as an art form, and as an art form, it belongs to the universe. Anybody can embrace it as a musical form and take it wherever they want. Hopefully they would keep the culture of it in mind when they do that. Then blues is a form of entertainment. It belongs to the audience. So maybe one audience likes this type of blues, maybe another audience likes another. Then blues as a business belongs to the bottom line. And you put all that together and you have a kind of complicated formula that doesn't always go in sync. And I struggle with a lot because maybe I want to bring something very culturally profound to my nightclub, but it might not have the commercial appeal to be a business proposition, but sometimes I'll do it because it just feels like it's a gathering that needs to happen. Other times I'll put in some stuff that's a lot more commercially oriented, maybe not exactly my style, but it brings a big audience in that love that, and that's how people are feeling about it. It might be a more modern type of blues. It might have elements of rock and things like that, which again, that belongs to that audience. If that's what's going to get people over, maybe bring them over the bridge to see the other parts of it, that's a great thing. But I think I want to tie that all up by saying that blues has got to be a community, and there has to be room at the table for all of us. All the different types of blues, all the different types of blues people. We're all out on the road sometimes, and we all find, sometimes in a foreign country, we'll find our friends that we know, that we go to the Blues Music Awards or to a Pinetop experience, and we all get together and we have this bond, and it's a beautiful bond, it's a really great thing. And so I don't want to exclude anybody. I want everybody to have a place at that table, and I guess that's what I'll leave it with right there.
Yes, sir. I'd like to say something. I've been listening and fortunate when I was younger to be able to work with one guy was George Harmonic Smith, and he was a mentor of mine. And I remember we were playing what we called back in those days, bucket of blood. There's places where people got shot, knifed, in the pool, chasing other guys' ladies. And we were playing a slow blues, and I felt goosebumps going on. A young man. And I said to myself, there's more going on in this music than we do.
Yeah.
But being young, I didn't understand it. But I was lucky enough that they took me into their culture, and I spent time in the culture and learned. Started to make records, started to make my own music. I was over in Belgium, got done with a concert. I was enjoying one of those great Belgian beers there that you got to sit. And I said to myself, I think this music, blues, is a music of overcoming adversity, not subjecting it.
Yes.
I thought about it again, overcoming adversity, not subjecting it. And one of the ways I saw the old blues men that I worked with overcome adversity was humor. I can't tell you how many times they laughed. They laughed all the time. I hope we don't lose that in blues. I hope we don't lose that in life.
Yes.
So like every concert, now I'm saying this to y'all, but I say it on concerts too. Tomorrow morning before you leave your bed, pack your sense of humor. Go into this world being able to laugh at the world, but maybe more importantly, be able to laugh at yourself. You're going to live longer, you're going to look better, and you're going to love longer, looking better, living longer.
That sounds like a blues song right
I got into this music, and I felt so fortunate that those guys allowed me to be part of that culture, to teach me that. So I give this advice. When you leave this wonderful place, and you're driving home, and some fool cuts you off, don't get angry, don't get a road rage. Sit back, put on some good blues music, and say, thank God I'm not married to that.
Wait, sir, I have a question for you. You teaching acoustic blues guitar?
Yes.
I would like, can I sit in on one of your classes? Can I sit in on one of your classes?
Oh, you're more than welcome.
Thank you.
We're the best in the world.
Thank you for having this conversation. One thing I've always struggled with the most when it came to blues was, and I always asked myself, like, am I crossing the line of appreciating the culture and history or appropriating it? And it especially comes from the fact that not only am I not part of African American culture, I'm not part of American culture. I come from Croatia. And the kind of consolation I found was always that if I understand, appreciate, and respect the history behind the music and where it came from, then I can only kind of contribute to keeping it alive, keeping people aware about it, and trying to kind of respectfully pay homage to it with my contribution to it. And I want to thank you for having this conversation, because that kind of, I learned more about the history, but I also am more sure about the way I feel about it. Thank you.
That was one thing we didn't talk about, and we can't get to everything, but appropriation is a very big topic. That wasn't today's topic, but thank you for bringing that up. Everybody's gonna get mad at me, but I would say the Beatles are appropriation and Rolling Stones are not. Oh, and Buddy Holly is not either.
Young Rel had a question.
I
I didn't have a question, but Mr. McLeod said to think about laughing. I was just gonna say, sometimes you've got to laugh to keep from crying.
Okay, everyone, I just want to have everyone in this room take a moment, and I want you to close your eyes for just a moment. Because you will not, and I'm sorry, you will not understand the gravity of what we just experienced until long beyond these walls. I've been here for 10 years, and to be able to share and hear this voice, this moment, is way beyond what any of us will understand until much longer. So please take a moment and soak it in, find that memory place to tuck this away, because this was absolutely incredible and amazing. We need to thank Mr. Pearley and our dear Bob Stroger for sharing themselves, sharing their lives, sharing their stories, and being here with us. So please show your appreciation for this.